Hi everybody, welcome to another Yarn Scrap Friday with me, Laura, and the last one of 2016. So we're going to be moving on into 2017 crochet patterns very soon. But today I'm going to be showing you how to do some Tunisian crochet actually. I'm going to show you how to do the Tunisian Basketweave stitch here. So in today's tutorial, I'm just going to show you how to do the basket weave Tunisian crochet stitch, and then over the next few weeks I'm going to show you how to turn it into a little zipper bag like I've got here. So little zip, I'm going to show you how to crochet in a zip, crochet not sew. And also we'll have a look at lining the bag as well. I'm hopefully going to improve on some of the techniques that I've done as well, that I've discovered a few problems along the way. So yeah, but today I'm just going to be showing you how to do the actual stitch, so you can have a little practice with the stitch, and then the following week we can come back and look at making that stitch into a little zipper cosmetic bag or clutch, whatever you want to use it for. But for this tutorial I'm just going to be using any old yarn and any old hook size to go with that. Say it's a medium 4-weight yarn, and it recommends a 4.5 or 5.5 millimeter needles or crochet hooks. So I've chosen to go with this yarn. Let's just get my hook out. I've chosen a 5 millimeter Tunisian crochet hook. So it's a Tunisian crochet hook. If you're new to Tunisian crochet, it's basically like a normal crochet hook, but it's as long as a knitting needle. And you can get two types. You can get these long straight ones like this that won't fit in my camera view, or you can get ones that have extensions on the end, like a rubber tubing. So they're great for making really big projects like afghans and blankets and things. But as I'm only showing you a demonstration today, and then next week I'll show you how to do the bag, I'm just using my straight Tunisian crochet hook. So let's begin. Let's show you how to make this stitch. So this pattern, this technique, is divided into sets of 4s. You're going to need your 4 times table. So depending on how long you want to make your project, obviously next week I'll show you specifically how long to make it, but it also depends on the size of your zip. So if you're going to be picking up a zip to do our zip bag tutorial, then you need to work to units of 4 to the length of your zip, just up to the actual zip mechanism, just beyond it there, to just there. So not the complete length here, you just want the actual zip length, because these parts will be hidden on the inside of your bag. So but you need to work to units of 4, and we're actually going to not add any for the chaining at all. So I am literally going to work my 4 times table without adding any chains for the first row. So just for this demonstration on how to do the stitch, I'm going to chain 16. So that's literally 4 times 4 is 16. So we're just going to do 4 times 4. Okay. So this video, this tutorial this week is just getting you used to doing the basket weave stitch. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16. Okay, so I'm literally chaining 16, which is 4 times 4. Okay, so if you've done a little bit of Tunisian crochet before, then this should seem familiar. But for the first row, it's just going to be normal Tunisian crochet. So what we're going to do is we are going to count, it's probably the only time I say this in crochet, we're going to count the loop on our hook. So we're going to count this. We're actually going to skip this first chain, so this very first chain here, after the loop on your hook. We're going to skip that. We're going to put our hook into the second one from our hook. So that's our first chain, that's our second. We're going to put our hook into that chain and bring the yarn through. Okay, and because we're counting the loop on our hook at the beginning, we now have 2 stitches. Okay, and we're going to keep that on our hook, and then we're going to go into the next chain and bring that yarn through and keep that on our hook. Okay, so now you can see why you need a long knitting needle like crochet hook. We're going to do that all the way across. So we're going to go into every chain, bring the yarn through, and then leave it. Go into the next chain, bring the yarn through. and then leave it. So we do that all the way to the end, creating little stitches as if we were knitting. And you should end up with 16 loops. Okay. And into the very last chain. So there we go. So we've got all our little loops on our hook, and you should have 16 loops, the same amount of chains you had at the beginning. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Okay. Now with your actual sort of first row, and when we're doing a reverse row, so that's going back to the beginning, we always have to do a little chain one at the beginning. It's very important not to miss this little chain one. And when working your Tunisian crochet, it's a good idea to keep it quite smooth, quite loose, so don't make them too tight. But it's very important to do this chain one at the beginning of your reverse row. So we're going to yarn over and just bring that through the very first loop to do our little chain one. So it's very, very important to do that. Then from then on, we are just going to yarn over and pull through 2 until we get to the end and 1 loop. So we just yarn over, pull through 2 loops then, 1, 2, okay, then stop and do the same thing again, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. It's like doing a really long crochet stitch. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, all the way back to the beginning until you've only got 1 loop left. So this is a standard Tunisian beginner row, these first 2 rows. So pretty much any project you're going to do in Tunisian crochet, you'll start off with this standard couple of rows. Pull through 2, almost back to the beginning, and we've got 2 loops left. Yarn over, pull through the last 2 until you're back to your 1 loop. So there we go. There is our first couple of rows of Tunisian crochet, no matter what project you're doing, and you'll end up with these little vertical bars. So like a little ladder, like so. And it's these vertical bars we're going to be working around, okay? So the only time we don't really work around them is when we're doing the knit stitch. And I've done a tutorial on the knit stitch as well. If you want to do some Tunisian crochet that looks like knitting, it's a pretty good effect. So I'll put a link in the description below to that tutorial. But for the basket weave, we're going to be working purl stitches and normal stitches. So the normal Tunisian stitch and the purl stitch. Now the purl stitch, Tunisian purl stitch, is not the same as a knitting purl stitch. It's kind of like a fake version of it, so it doesn't work the same as the knitting purl stitch because it looks different on the back, but it does create the same effect. And we're going to be using the normal Tunisian crochet stitch and the Tunisian purl stitch into sets of 4 to create our basket weave. So we're going to alternate between the 2. But we'll start off with the basic Tunisian stitch first. And what we need to do whenever you work Tunisian crochet, you never work through this first vertical bar. So you ignore this first vertical bar underneath your loop. We always go around the next one here. So all we do is we find this second vertical bar, we put our hook underneath that vertical bar, and then we just grab the yarn, bring it under the vertical bar and up, and we keep that loop on our hook. So we're doing the same thing again, getting all these loops on our hook. We're going to do that for the first 3 only, because we're still going to count this vertical bar as a stitch, this loop on our hook as a stitch. So that's the second one that we've created. And we find the third vertical bar, put our hook under there, bring the yarn behind it and up onto our Tunisian hook, and then the next one as well. So we only go on to the first 3, but it's a set of 4 because we're counting this first loop as our first stitch. Okay, so that's our first set of 4. Now we need to do 4 lots of our purl stitch. Now to do a purl stitch, all we need to do is literally bring our yarn down to the front. Okay, we need to put it down to our front. Okay, then we put our hook for the next vertical bar. So this is down here, and then we bring it up from the bottom and grab it with our hook. So it's lying to the front of our vertical bar. Yarn over and then bring it through the stitch. And when you've done that, it's a good idea just to give it a little pull, gently, not too tight, just to bring in any excess yarn. Okay, and what you see the difference there is you've got normal Tunisian stitches and you've got this little horizontal bar, like a purl stitch in knitting. We're going to do 4 of those. So again, keep your yarn down to the front, find your next vertical bar, put your hook under there, then bring up the yarn and yarn over with it. You just hold that with your thumb and bring that through your vertical bar, and when you've safely through, just give it a little tighten up so you don't get any excess yarn. So that's our second one, and then we'll do the third one, not going through the fourth one as well, keeping that yarn down at the bottom and bring it through, give it a little pull, and then we'll do one more because we're doing this in sets of 4. Yarn over, bring that through. Okay, so we've done 4 Tunisian purl stitches. You can see they've got this nice little horizontal bar. Now we want to go back to normal stitches, so we need to make sure our yarn is at the top. So bring your yarn up to the top so it's behind your crochet hook, and then go into the next vertical bar and bring the yarn through that way to do a normal Tunisian stitch. I'm going to do 4 of those. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so we've done 4 normal stitches, and then we need to do our purl stitches. So we're going to bring our yarn down to the front, bring it down, 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 down. Then we're going to go into the next vertical bar, bring it up and grab the yarn, come through the bar, and then just do a little tighten up. We're going to do that all the way to the end. You should have 4 left. So second one, 2, keeping that yarn down at the bottom, 3, and then the last one is right on the end. Now this is an important one to make sure you go into the right bit, because you might get confused with this bit of yarn or this bit of yarn, and it's very important to work into the right bit, otherwise it'll end up distorted at the end. So make sure your work is flat next to your Tunisian crochet hook, and making sure it's flat, you should see that the one you want to work through is this one here, because then this one here on the top here does suddenly become your little chain one that you worked before. So make sure it's flat, make sure that the vertical bar you're working through lines up with your previous vertical bars. We're going to work through that last one there. We're doing one more, making sure the yarn's at the bottom because we're doing a purl stitch, and bring the yarn through that last vertical bar. Okay, so there we go, that's our second row where we're actually starting to do our basket weave, alternating between normal stitches and purl stitches. Then the reverse row is exactly the same as our previous reverse row. I can't, tongue twister. So we need to make sure we do our little chain 1 first, bring the yarn through the first loop only to do our little chain 1. It's very important to do that so it lines up properly, and then we just yarn over, pull through 2 until we get to the end. So it's exactly the same as before. Pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, so on and so forth, back to the beginning. And that's our first couple of basket weave rows. We're going to do the same thing again, starting with the same stitches. Then basically all it is alternating between your normal stitches and purl stitches. create the basket weave effect for the last two. And there we go. So there is our beginnings of our basket weave coming together. And as you can see on your reverse row, you've now created another set of vertical bars above your previous stitches. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing again. Start off with our normal stitches. Remember to skip the first vertical bar because that's our first stitch already done. We're going to go into the second vertical bar, making sure that it's above your previous one. Yarns at the top, bring it through as normal. So it's our second one, third, fourth. Okay, so we only go into the first three because our first one's done already to get our first set of four. Then we need to match up our purl stitches. So I'm going to bring the yarn down to the bottom. And we're going to find our next vertical bar. Now these can be a little bit harder to see because the purl horizontal bar makes your vertical bar a little bit smaller. But if you find your little vertical bar, horizontal bar rather, above it will be your vertical bar. So there's our horizontal bar, purl stitch. Just above it will be your vertical bar you want to work into. Making sure the yarn's down the bottom. Again, we bring it up, pull through, and just tighten up. Okay, do that for the next three as well. Making sure your yarn is always down the bottom. Three, the last one, four. And they should line up with your previous four. There we go. So now you've got two rows of little purl stitches. Then we put our yarn to the back at the top again to do our next normal stitches. So 4 normal Tunisian stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're going to finish up with the last 4 purl stitches. And it's a good idea at this stage, while you can still see your vertical bars, to know where your last vertical bar is going to be. You can see it there. Okay, let's bring the yarn down and go into our next vertical bar just above our purl stitch. Tighten up. Next one. Be careful to only go under the vertical bar. Don't go through any of the yarn at the back. 2. 3. Making sure your work is level so you know which vertical bar to work into. And it's going to be just above your little purl stitch anyway. You can go onto the last vertical bar. Because that's easy to get wrong, even for so-called experts like me. So there we go, and then we just do a reverse row as normal, not forgetting our chain one at the beginning. So for the first loop only, and then pull through 2 to the end. Pull through 2, 2, pull through 2, back to the beginning. So the reverse rows are always the same. So whatever you do on your outgoing row, as it were, determines what type of project you'll have, what type of stitch or pattern you'll have. And like I said, you work to units of 4, so if you want to make this into a large afghan or a scarf or whatever, you need to get some of the longer Tunisian hooks with the extensions, and I picked these up on Amazon quite easily, and then just work to units of 4. However long you want to make it. So there we go, there's our first 2 sets of our basket weave. Now to create the basket weave, we just alternate now. So we're going to start off with purl stitches, then do normal stitches, and that's what creates the sort of basket weave effect. So what we're going to do now is 3, because we only do 3 at the beginning, so this is our first one already done. We're going to do 3 purl stitches. So straight away we bring the yarn down, bring it over slightly to the right, just so you can see where your first vertical bar is. Making sure this is at the front, at the back, and then pull that through. Just pull those down a bit. So that's our second one, 2. So our first one's the first loop on our hook, regardless of what it looks like. 3. Get a little bit fiddly when you start off with purl stitches, but hopefully you'll get into a little rhythm. This is why I thought I'd show you how to do it first, then we can come back to doing the cosmetic bag. Now we're going to do 4 normal stitches. We need to make sure our yarn's at the top. And again, find a little vertical bar, which can be quite small. It's just above your horizontal purl stitch. Make sure to go through that and nothing at the back. You don't want to be catching any of the yarn at the back. My radiators are gurgling. You can hear that. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 normal stitches. Then we're going to do purl stitches where we did normal stitches before, so bring the yarn down and do 4 purl stitches. And 4, and then we finish up with 4 normal stitches. So make sure yarn's at the top and finish off with 4 normal stitches. 1, 2. Check out where your last vertical bar is going to be. Make sure it's level with this one working under, so you know which one it's going to be. 3. You know it's going to be this one. 4. Okay. And then we do the same thing on the way back. Don't forget to do your little chain 1 first. And then we pull through 2 to the end, so same as before. So we get to the last 2, and there we go, back at the beginning again. So now you can see you're alternating between, we're doing 2 sets each time, we're alternating between the purl and the normal stitches. So we're going to do another set in the same way. So we're going to start off with, bring the yarn down, start off with the 3 purls. So let's find that first vertical bar. It's just going to be there. Sure the yarn's at the front, because that's what creates our little purl stitch. Bring that through, and we'll do 3 of these. Tighten that up, make sure it's nice and neat. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then yarn to the top and do 4 normal stitches. This is basically what we do, is we do 2 sets each time, and then we just alternate to create the basket weave. So I've done, this will be my second set, doing it this way. So my next one would be starting off with normal stitches instead of purl stitches. Bring the yarn down, do 4 purls. One, 2, 3, and 4. Yarn back up to the top and finish off with 4 normal stitches, and you can figure out which is going to be your last vertical bar by lining it up with these 3. Make sure the yarn's at the top. 1, 2, 3, and the last one on the end, 4, and then just a normal standard reverse row. So we do a little chain 1 first, make sure it levels off the edge, and then pull through 2 back to the beginning. And that completes our second set this way round. Through 2, pull through 2, back to the beginning, and there we go. So let's bring up a loop and show you the basket weave. So there we go, she's done 2 sets this way, starting off with a normal stitch, then 4 purl, 4 normal, 4 purl, and then I alternated starting off with purls and then 4 of the normal stitches. And you can see alternating every 2 sets creates a basket weave, just like I did on here, just alternating between purl stitches and normal stitches. There we go. So that's how you do the Tunisian crochet basket weave stitch. And if you want to join me next week for like a mini crochet along, we'll look at making a little bag. So have a little practice of the basket weave stitch. Pick yourself up a little bit of material if you want to line the bag, and a zip, doesn't matter what size it is. And then pick yourself up some yarn and some Tunisian crochet hooks, and we'll make a little zipper cosmetic bag with the basket weave stitch, which works really well. So it creates a nice finish. But until then, I will see you soon with some more crochet fun. I'll see you next week, and have a great New Year's Eve and a brilliant start to your new year. I hope you've had a good 2016. I'll see you then. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.